Thank you, Program Director Leanne. Also always energetic and vibrant, and happy to be in local government. I'm looking around. I know you're from all over the country. So welcome to the Kingdom of KwaZulu-Natal. And it's a pleasure to speak to you, really, because you are the future of local government, we hope. We've seen many interns come into local government and then leave our sector, join the banking sector, join the private sector, and we've lost many interns from local government, which is sad, because I'm sure Mr. Sabande from National Treasury yesterday told you about how much has been invested in this internship program, how many people have gone through the program, and how many years we've had it going. Gershon, is it 15 years? Yeah, it's over 15 years that this local government finance internship program has been running. So it's a long time, and you're part of the start of something. This is not, the end of your career. This is the beginning of your careers. So we really want to make sure that, as Leanne said, we want to inspire you to stay within local government. It's not an easy space to be in. I'm sure you're aware of that. But the only reason I'm around for 30 years is because there's never a dull moment. There's never a dull moment, people. So just take it, and let's try and make a difference that we can. So the topic we have this morning as a panel, with my esteemed colleagues, is strengthening local government for agile financial practices and sustainable growth. And I'm not sure, I don't have the, okay, you'll move for me, thank you. So for me, I'm going to set the scene, maybe in about 10 minutes. And then what we will do is, I have a few questions that I've posed openly on the topic. And we'll then allow the panelists to either pick a question or to share with us their specific view on the subject matter. And then we also want to engage with you. It's not just our little conversation. We really want you to tell us what it is you think we, as people entrenched in government, policy makers, senior managers, can do to actually make a difference in the space in which you work. So for me, the dilemma that we have in local government when we talk about agile financial management practices is this issue of the fact that financial management in local government is completely rigid and to a large degree unchangeable. And of course, there's a few reasons for that. The one is that we have National Treasury, who is big brother to all. We also have regulations and a policy framework that is so rigid and inflexible. I know SALGA and my colleagues in SALGA have always said that local government is over-regulated. And I tend to agree with that to some degree. I think there is a need for standards and principles and legislation and regulation. But perhaps we've taken it a little bit too far in the case of local government. If you look at King 4, the whole basis upon which the corporate governance framework is based is apply or explain. In local government, you don't have that choice. You just apply. Okay? So I think that's one of the dilemmas in terms of why we cannot be as agile as we would like to be. And then, of course, with the legal and policy environment, and you just keep getting more and more regulations, it's not going to help us. So how do we then make that difference and become agile within this context of local government? One of the other things that I think that's critical to being agile as a sector is on the next slide around the role of the Chief Financial Officer. So you've all been trained as prospective Chief Financial Officers, am I right? Yeah, that's the idea. That at some point in your life, you will be the future CFOs of our municipalities in the country. And you know, CFOs are not just coordinators and gatherers of financial data and information and presentation of annexure forms, you know, A1 schedules to AZ and all of that kind of stuff. CFOs should largely be strategic financial managers, because a CFO has insight into the entire, and I'd say business, but this is from corporate sector borrowing. And there are principles and practices we can certainly borrow from the corporate sector. I don't think we do enough to share that kind of knowledge and experience. But if you looked at local government, our business is service delivery. We're in the business of doing water, sanitation, electricity, roads, any other infrastructure. That's our core business, right? Am I right? That's our core business. Now, think about a private sector company that does infrastructure business, how that company succeeds. And why is it that we as local government can't be as successful, right? So in a private sector company, a CFO has the line of sight across the business. So a CFO sees what happens in corporate services, they see what happens in infrastructure and technical services, they see what happens in community services. They have a line of sight across the whole business of local government. But do they actually influence these business units? Or do they just sit back and say, no, the director technical said and presented this information, so we just put it together. It's not our job to question it. It is your job as a CFO to question. It is your job as a CFO to see whether you are putting money in the right place based on the strategic plan of the municipality, the IDP and so on. So in the private sector, CFOs are taking on far more strategic roles. And I think we need to start getting to that point where we evolve and redefine the role of the CFO. We all know about MSCOA. We all know about digital transformation, right? And we all know about these things. But you know what we do in local government? We limit it to MSCOA. That's all. When we talk technology and we talk about systems in local government, we talk about MSCOA, which isn't even a system, it's a chart of accounts. The system is something completely different, okay? So we limit ourselves by the way we think and the way we see the world and the way we deal with the issues that we need to deal with. So the CFO has to look at whether you're going to work on the basis of identifying your objectives and deciding whether you're going to lead the people, the process, or the performance. And performance is all about those targets that we set. So generally, agile finance, and I'm on slide 4, please. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be moving now. Agile finance is about embracing technology and skills, right? And enabling digital financial adoption. One of the things we're very, very poor at is our data management. We leave it to IT people. We don't understand our own accounting systems. We rely on the consultant to come and fix a problem. So we identify that the TB is not balanced, some account is not balancing. But we don't take the time to go and understand why it's not balancing, whether it's a human error capturing issue, or whether it's a system programming issue, a development issue. You know, we don't take the time to understand it. Because IT is this, some domain that's beyond us. It's not. IT is an enabler. It does what you tell it to do. You've all heard the phrase garbage in, garbage out. Okay? So the service providers who run your financial systems are not the financial experts. You are. And you should be testing those systems, and you should be challenging and making those systems better and making them work. You should not be waiting for a service provider to come and fix an accounting problem. you should be fixing the accounting problem and telling the service provider your system is flawed. Okay? So those are some of the things that I found on the IT space. As far as financial planning is concerned, when you look at financial budgeting and planning, ours is so rigid. Of course, we limit it to the chart of accounts. We've got to deal with the IDP, and we've got to go through the whole MFMA compliance element and so on. But generally, agile financial planning is about you set a budget and you give the people the space to actually do what they need to do to deliver a product or a service. Here, we are managing outputs as opposed to managing outcomes. And again, that becomes limiting. You stop becoming visionary, you stop becoming forward-thinking, and all you do is comply. Implement and comply, and report, and so on. And that's where we lack the ability to make independent decisions. Sometimes management is even stripped of decision-making authority. You know, you just have to do it that way. Even if there is a better way. No, that's the way you've got to do it. So there's no independent thinking that takes place. And we'll share the presentation, but I've given you a synopsis of what traditional budgeting looks like and what lean budgeting looks like, and how we deal with agile financial management. So, you know, for example, you look at traditional budgeting, you've got to plan to the nth degree. If you don't plan and you don't allocate resources and do traditional management functions, then you're not doing your job. When you do lean budgeting, there is room for uncertainty. There are things that are not going to go the way you want them to. And trust me, in local government, a lot of things don't go the way we want them to. But we are not able to adapt, flex, and change because the system is so rigorous, right? Of course, you know, when you look at it, you've got to spend 100% of your MIG allocation. On the lean budgeting, if you spend 80%, you're doing well. Here, if you spend 80%, National Treasury will withdraw the remainder of your grant. And what do we end up doing, colleagues? We end up creating bumps along the way. So even if you spent 80%, if that were your target, and yes, something went wrong, you have the ability to catch up if you were doing lean budgeting. But now you don't, because the money is gone. So you literally got to readjust your projects, your programs, and everything now, and you keep taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. So sometimes we do ourselves a disservice. I think just with agile budgeting, it of course affects the entire organization. And I think we do not harness our IT and our chief information officers and our data management and so on well enough. You would know that our debtors' data is appalling, right? We need serious data cleansing as far as our revenue and debt management value chain is concerned. But we're not doing anything about it. Now, if we got into this data analytics, if we just took different databases, if you just took your valuation roll, your debtors data, your indigent data, and you did a comparison, and you cleaned it up, do you know how much of debt you would write off immediately? Do you know how many duplicate accounts you have? Do you know how many incorrect accounts you have? We're sitting with 27 billion rand owed to municipalities in the province of KwaZulu-Natal alone. That's a consumer debt. 80% of that is owed by individual households. 18% of that is owed by business. So that's not a very good picture. And so we really need to become astute at managing our technology and our data. And yeah, we need to move forward in terms of harnessing IT and clearly communicating our expectations to them to make sure that we're able to impact the whole organization, but more importantly, impact the citizens. How many of you are constantly reading about billing challenges at Msunduzi? How many of you are getting incorrect accounts? Okay? Most people. So, there's that kind of stuff also that is problematic. And so the questions that I pose to the panel with just that very, very brief introduction is, how do we actually become agile in a regulatory and policy framework that is so rigid? What is the role of the CFO, and how can the CFO contribute to a more agile financial management system in local government and in your municipality? How do we improve to become more agile, flexible, responsive, adaptive in local government to the needs of our citizens, not for other needs, but to the needs of our citizens by planning and budgeting better? What can we do to plan and budget better? And we know that MIG is guaranteed 3 years, for 3 years at 75%. So we know exactly how much we're going to get from MIG for the next 3 years. But why do we have delays in procurement for our infrastructure projects when our people are screaming for water and sanitation and electricity and roads and bridges and footpaths? Why? Why can't we get it right? So are we having too short-term a view? And are we expecting too much too soon? Should we be building stronger foundations for the longer term? Or should we just be putting on blacktop on the road constantly? Then Chief Information Officer, CFO, how can we bring these two together? And how can we leverage IT better? IT is not MSCOA, please don't say MSCOA. How can we leverage IT better? Various databases, GIS. There's phenomenal use of the GIS for your customer profiling, to collect your debt. How do we use credit bureau information, SARS information, SASA information? How can we get access to that? Why is it only the domain of the AG to have access to which government employees are doing business with the state? And then we only hear about it in the audit. I know, Kabiso, you're going to say they have access. But why do we have to keep paying for this stuff then? Okay? So those are some of the questions. And then people. Are you as individuals agile? Or have you been put in a box and all you're doing is keeping to your lane, doing what you're told, and not blowing your mind like you should? Okay? And then ultimately, colleagues, if we are not delivering services of a standard and quality that is expected out there, then we're not doing our jobs. If all we are doing is juggling ratepayers that can pay for services and pegging them against our poor, whom we're supposed to provide a basket of services, it's not sustainable. We're already seeing it. The revenue from property rates is going down. People are going off-grid. What does that mean? It means you're going to lose revenue. If I go and put in a solar panel, I'm not going to consume municipal grid electricity much more. It's going to reduce. So where's the money going to come from? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to tear up the system if we don't find innovative ways of dealing with these things. So I put that out there. And Leanne, we're going to hand over to you to facilitate the discussion, perhaps. And we'll then open up also for questions and your thoughts and comments and inputs. Thank you very much.